when kids have all the right supplies.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Take 10. Good morning, good morning. I see Becky and Vicky here. Good morning. Welcome to Take 10. I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and I am excited to play around. Yay, Carol, welcome back. I need this too today, Carol. Hey, Amanda. It has been a week, you guys, like a great week and a stressful week and just a week. You guys know how it goes. Hey, from sunny Atlanta, and Brenda and Cindy, what's up? Okay. Today we are playing with gouache paints again. So last week from France, hello from France. Hey, Wendy. Oh my goodness, you guys, I love seeing people from like all over the world. I think that is the amazing thing about social media, is that you just can connect with people everywhere. Okay, so last week we played with gouache paint as part of our Fearless Art field trip. We had a lot of Fearless Art campers over here. Maybe we'll have some more joining us this morning. And we were playing with gouache. And you guys, I've had this gouache paint for probably, I don't know, over a year now. I haven't used it a ton. And so what we're gonna do today is just play with it a little bit more and see some of its capabilities. So that being said, if you have questions about gouache paints, things that they can do, be sure to type them in so that I can give some things a try. The concept behind Take 10, if you are new here to Take 10, is that I have this journal. It's just kind of a cheapo journal, not really great paper or anything, and it is just for playing and experimenting. I am not worried about a final product. I'm not worried about creating a like art journal per se. I'm just having fun playing with supplies. When I'm able to do that, it A, sparks my creativity, and B, lets me get to know some supplies and techniques a little bit better so that I will be able to kind of transfer those into my regular art journal. So I thought we could play a little bit today. I'm trying to figure out where, that's a pretty good page. I am looking to see a page we can get started. Good morning, Peggy and Alice. Okay, so the gouache paints I have, you can get gouache paints in different kinds. A lot of them you can get in these pans already ready to go. I have them in tubes from Arteza. These were sent to me to try a while ago, and I thought we would play with them today. So I'm gonna pull out my little tubes here, and if I can open this, ouch, that was probably, ooh, that is some hot pink. Apparently we're going bright today. So I'm gonna just squeeze out a few colors before I get started, and then kind of take it from there. We're gonna go with some bright pinks and purple, and maybe like a peach. Of course, I put the purple where the peach is. Y'all can see I'm not great at keeping my palette clean. Let's go with this kind of peachy color, light apricot. Let's see how that goes. Okay, let me get my timer set and we'll get going. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so gouache paints. You can use right out of the tube. You don't have to add water, and just get your brush in there. And in this way, they act very much like acrylic paints do. So I can just come across here, and it's going to be very, very similar to how acrylic paint works. So let's see, what I wanted to see is before I add water, how is the blending between the two? It's pretty good. Here, let's come into this. Okay, so this apricot is gonna be, oh, well that's fun, because I already had pink on my brush. I just wanted to not have, that's kind of cool. Look at that mixture, you guys. And then if I keep going this way. Okay, so I'm saying the blending is pretty nice. Let me know what you think. I think they mix really nicely, actually. Of course, I'm trying to use colors that will. This is without water. Yes, man. In fact, I haven't dipped my brush in water yet. I'm kind of mixing up my colors a little bit. This is without water. And if you are working in your kind of Take 10 journal-esque piece, you may want to actually label this, you know, pull out a pen and label it without water, just so you can kind of see. Now I'm layering it over because like this purple and this pink into the apricot, that was kind of a rough transition. I think it's pretty good without water. I kind of agree with Amanda. I'm actually pretty impressed. And the reason I like it without water is because of the vibrancy of the color. That is a strong, strong purple though. Okay, now I'm washing off my paintbrush. Let me get a paper towel so I can dry it. So that is blending without water, which I kind of dig. It's not perfectly smooth, but I think it's really pretty. I really like this in here. This one was a little rougher. I think you'd have to have a little bit more time to blend. Okay, now the next thing I wanted to see, we're gonna stay with purple because I agree with Cindy. Purple makes everything better. And I'm mixing in some water over here in my purple. I'm just getting it on my brush, mixing it in. And you can see it's kind of acting more like watercolor. So here's my purple. See how it's going on? Very similar to watercolor. And how it's blending down for that like ombre look. Now, this isn't watercolor paper. I do have some watercolor paper pulled out that we could play with. See it? Yeah, and I'm able to layer over the top. It's gonna get thicker and darker at the top. Hey, Katrina! And blending nicely. Okay, well then if we're gonna use water, let's go with this pink. And we're gonna add the pink down here. And I'm gonna get some more water on my paper. And we're gonna see how the blending goes with water. Now, I'm gonna pull up my watercolor paper here in a second, but one thing I'm noticing is you see how it dried underneath? I can see the brush strokes still underneath, which I'm not particularly digging. So for me right now, this is something, it's telling me that if I were going to use this as a more wet look, I would need a little bit more, I don't know, practice, you might say. Let's add this apricot in. It's definitely a more muted look. I love that y'all are all saying hi to each other in the comments. Definitely more muted, but I can dig that. I like that. All right, let's experiment a little bit more. Here's something I wanted to try. So, gouache. Michelle asked, how do you pronounce that word? It is pronounced gouache. Okay, we're gonna try something else. We're gonna try layering. And I wanted to see how they layer on top of each other. So I wanted to do, this is still a little bit wet. So we're gonna take a dark color here. We're gonna come up to what we did up here. Oopsie. I'm just gonna do a few little art marks because I kind of wanted to see how it layered. Not the best brush for it, but that's okay. Okay, the layering is nice, but here's the real test. What we're gonna do, we're going with this dark Prussian blue, which is gorgeous. Let's paint this on. So if I wanted my night sky, this is without water because that's kind of what I'm digging right now. We're gonna paint this. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna let that dry. And we're gonna see if we can paint over the top of it. So pause on that. Let's go to watercolor paper because I wanted to try, now my water is getting dirty. So one of the techniques I really love with watercolor, let me switch brushes here. I like dropping watercolor in So for instance, if I have just water already down on my page, like this, as clean of water as I can get, I like dropping watercolor in. So let's see what happens if we drop. I did not expect it to do that. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Dropping maybe a little bit more. Okay, I didn't quite expect it to do that, but I like it. I was thinking, so I don't think it blends, or I don't think it spreads as much as a regular watercolor would. I keep wiping off my brush, but it is doing it. And look how these two colors didn't necessarily mix. It's kind of like you have to force them a bit. So like these are not necessarily playing nice. See? They're like a little bit, but not. They're kind of pushing each other away, which is interesting to see. These are, I agree, these are a really interesting versatile medium. I think you could probably do a pretty good amount. Let's play with this dark blue over here. Let's go. Wow, look at that. What if you drop it right over the top? See how it's kind of holding its own a little bit more? If I come back with some more water on this one, you can move it, but it definitely has a different kind of blend than my regular watercolor. To me, I love watercolor. I think it's so gorgeous. I find it really hard to work with sometimes. Now I'm just having fun with this background. I find it really hard to work with. So to me, gouache might be a really fun way to get some watercolor effects without having to deal with some of the issues I tend to run into with watercolor. Here's another one of my favorite things with watercolor is just adding water. You guys know, love me a good drip. Let's see how this one drips. Sometimes you have to invite it. Woo! That went fast. Hold up, rescue the workstation. All right. Kind of digging this little, I like how it's not just going completely on its own. Like I'm controlling more, even though this is pretty saturated, I'm controlling more of where it's going than I thought I was going to be able to. Like if this were watercolor and I plopped water, or I plopped water and then put color down, it would be, it's got a mind of its own. But on this one, I am able, I'm going to come back with my big brush, I'm able to control this a little bit more. Like that's a lot of water, but still it's kind of taking my brush to move it around, which I dig. Don't dig some of the lines I got going on in here. But to me, that is a fun background. Whoops, dropping stuff. Now, here's another thing. Let's see how we do picking up some of this. How much of it picks up? Alexa, stop. A pretty good amount of it, you guys, is picking up. That's pretty similar. Ooh, that's fun. That's pretty similar. So that's good to know. Okay, before we go, I wanted to come back. This one is almost dry. I'm gonna get a new brush, even though I just like threw my brushes on the ground on accident. A new brush, and let's see how this does over the top. We're gonna go with that bright pink. You can see it wasn't totally dry. That's okay. I think they're gonna layer pretty well. Let me know in the comments below if you use gouache. What are some of your favorite techniques to use it for? To me, I do think it's a pretty fun mix between acrylic. Acrylic is my go-to This is obviously super wet. You guys, when I just plop it down, I think it's gonna layer well. I just don't think that that was dry. Acrylic is my go-to. I love acrylic. How is it acting on the reverse side? I already had stuff on the reverse, but look at that. You're not getting bleed through. And I have used these in thinner pages, like Bible pages. It's gonna be similar. You're not gonna get a lot of bleed through, which I dig. So this dried out pretty nicely. Now look at this. So I think it dried more blended than it looked when it was wet. Let me know if you think that's true. So acrylic is my go-to. I like watercolor for some backgrounds, but I feel like this is a nice mix between the two. So I'm interested to kind of play with them a little bit more. It's so funny how you kind of rediscover supplies in your room every now and then. That's why one of the reasons I like to reorganize and clean out my room, because I forget about supplies I had. Brenda uses it more often than acrylic or watercolor. Oh, Brenda, it's just for painting. She says she has no technique. Girl, no technique required. You have fun and be creative. Open it, Vicky. Vicky has a set that she hasn't opened. Open it and play. See what you can make. So this is the set that I have. I linked it in the description if you're interested in playing with them. This is the Arteza set, 60 colors. So you guys, it's like a gajillion different colors. I have several of the little groupings out on my desk right now. And I like it because I feel like I don't have to mix my own custom colors, and I'm not a big fan of mixing my colors. I just don't have patience for that. So I'm a big fan of like buying all of the colors because I just want to be able to have them ready to go. So that's the set that I have linked in the description box if you want to check that out. Otherwise, I think this was fun. Sometimes it's fun. Just play with your supplies, see what you can create. This is looking a little messy now. Getting a little messy, you guys. See what you can create, see what feels good with the supply, and then that might inspire you to create something after the case. All right, I think that is it for take 10. Thank you guys so much for joining me again this week. I do believe I will be here next week, but make sure to check, just come over on here. If it's not listed, then it's not happening. And usually I'll post something if I end up having to cancel. Next week is the last week of summer around here, and then all the kiddos are going back to school, which is, you know, sad. Summer is ending, but exciting if you are a mom that is trying to work from home like I am. A huge shout out to all of you. Thank you, especially to all of those names that you see in green. Those are Scrappy YouTube members, and they are awesome. They help this channel with their monthly support. They receive some bonus videos and early sneaks at videos when I'm filming them. So if you're interested in finding out some more about Scrappy YouTube membership, then you can click the join button, or there's a link in the description box. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you all for taking the time to join me this morning. It was super fun. I hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, keep it creative.